Welcome, everybody. This is They Fucked Us Up, the podcast where we discuss movies from our childhoods that either tormented us or terrified us or just stuck with us in a very significant way, ? My name is Xandra. I am your host. We have with us Candace, Nemo, Kevin, and Jake. And we're discussing the movie The Witches from 1991. Okay. I'm sorry, 1990. Son of a bitch.
That's okay. That's okay.
The Witches from 1990.
I know this because the other night we were all going through our birth years and what movies came out, and I was like, that came out on my birth year.
Oh, yeah. And Kevin has the most of the good films that came out on his birth year.
I got some goodies.
Yeah. 1988 was a very good year, apparently.
Yeah.
So let's start with the people who watched this as a child. Candace, didn't you watch this as a child?
I did. I saw a little bit of it when I was like 5 years old on TV, and I was sneaking it. I wasn't supposed to be watching it, so I saw like part of it as a child. The scariest part I saw.
Jeez, yeah. I was a little bit older than that, but I think I was still like 8 or something, and saw like the only parts that I remember are the freakiest parts of the movie.
Understandable.
Yeah. Kevin, you saw it, right?
Yes, I did. I think similar age. I was probably around like 8 or so.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just remember like the scariest parts of the movie. Don't know if it scarred me, but
It definitely scarred me because I blacked out like the rest of the movie other than those parts.
Excuse me, I'm 30 years old. It scarred me. Now, it scared me when we watched it.
Right now,
this year.
Oh my gosh.
Nemo, did you ever see this movie as a child?
I never saw this movie. I never knew of its existence. It seems weird and funny to me.
I guess it has.
It's a very lighthearted children's movie.
You lie like a dog.
I'm lying.
It feels like torture to put this in the minds of children because it has so much like a lot of logic to it. That's like, oh, well, that's because this, and I can't imagine hearing this as a kid and then be terrified that they're actually witches.
Well, so one thing I was thinking about when we were talking about it, because we were talking about Willy Wonka, and we were talking about Matilda, which are from the same author as The Witches.
Yeah.
I have the feeling that Roald Dahl. I've never read any of his books, but from what I've heard from people who have read his books, he tends to adopt that kind of old fairy tale style of, you know how old fairy tales used to be really dark, really, really dark.
So he's Dutch originally. So he has all those like Germanic fairy tales influenced into him. Plus he went through a lot of like traumatic stuff during the war that he was like, this is how I get my demons out.
Right.
It's his own therapy.
But he put it into his children's books.
Right.
For his own children.
Wow.
I mean, children like twisted stuff, though.
True. Some children.
So like how old fairy tales used to be dark. I think it was his modern take on the dark fairy tale for a modern audience. So that's why I think this movie is so
it's
twisted the way it is.
It's interesting. I've got thoughts.
So since we all have our thoughts, we can just jump right in here. So it begins, there's like a weird flyover, I guess, of Norway, or whatever Swedish, Scandinavian country.
Yeah, I think they said Norway.
Was it?
Yeah, I think it was Norway.
Okay, so they do this flyover, and I just instantly, the title came across, and I was like, it's the Murder, She Wrote font.
That's how you remember fonts.
Yes, it's the Murder, She Wrote font. I was like, and Murder, She Wrote came out in the early, like mid 80s. So they clearly stole that font from them.
There weren't as many font
That's really
options back
funny.
then, though.
I guess.
Keep that in mind.
But it should definitely like it kind of sets it up a little for my mind that I'm like, oh, this is going to be kind of crazy.
And it is.
Little did we know. And then it says produced by Jim Henson's company, and I'm just like, oh, let's add another level of craziness on top of it.
That was the first time I found out there were going to be puppets in this.
Yeah, there's
Oh, and
always
what
going to be
puppets.
What a
puppets.
treat.
Oh, what a treat.
Yep. So we are introduced to Luke and his grandmother. They don't have they do have a name. They give her a name later on. Her name is Helga, but like not until a lot longer into the movie.
And most of the movie is just
She's just grandmother. Grandma.
And again, she was an idiot, like adults always are in his stories. Like I hated that woman.
I mean, she was much smarter than the rest of the adults in the movie.
I will disagree with that statement, but we could talk about that later.
Okay. And she's telling him about witches, like how they're, they want to kill children and stuff like that, and how they like do these things. What was she doing? Was she making candles?
She's just smoking a cigar.
I know she was smoking a cigar, and I was like, what the
She
hell?
was doing old lady things hunched over a table. I don't remember what she was
Oh my God,
doing
you're
either.
right. I have no idea what she was doing. My brain just categorized it as old lady things.
I think I wrote down making candles, and I was like, huh? Okay. And she's telling all these like detailed information, and I'm like, how does she know this information? Where did she pick this stuff out? Oh, she's missing a pinky. And that was the grossest looking like
Stub.
that I've ever seen.
It's a shocking moment for a children's movie.
Yeah,
It's
I was
oh,
like, that was
all right.
right out of the gate. And she's saying this flashback to, I thought the kid's name was Helga. It was Erica, her friend from when she was a child. That was like, she disappeared and everybody didn't know where she went. And
Well, note that the audience does see what happens to her. The witch kidnaps her.
Right, we get to watch.
yeah,
We
yeah.
get to watch it, but she had it. They
Yeah,
had
the people of the town don't know where she went, but she's telling like she disappeared and it was a witch who took her because the witch was standing there watching her and she had an itchy wig on.
Real witches are quite bold. Although, of course, they wear wigs that itch.
Right.
And like purple eyes. I was like, ew, okay. And then, at one point I put, Luke looks high as fuck through this
yes, the
whole
child.
description of what's happening.
Because he just kind of looks up like into like no
Dead
direction
stare.
and just has his mouth like half open, just like
Dead stare. Oh, jeez.
just like that. Right?
Just like that. Exactly like that.
Just like that.
I thought he looked a lot like the kid from the Christmas Story. Was that the one with the lamp with the
Macaulay
stocking?
Culkin?
Oh my God, you're right. He does look like him.
He does kind of look like Macaulay Culkin, especially from like Page Master.
Or are you saying the guy that with the BB gun shooting your eye out Christmas Story? Which movie are you talking about?
I never watched the one I'm talking about, so I'm not
Christmas-
sure which one. I think it might have been A Christmas Story.
I know what you're talking about. The
okay.
boy from Christmas Story. He
Okay.
does kind of look like him.
He does.
Oh,
I mean, he kind
glasses.
of looks like a mix of the two,
Yeah.
but like with slightly reddish hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she's telling him like these witches wear wigs and they have these purple eyes and they have squared feet. I don't know where that came from.
Yes, they have no toes.
Yeah,
So
I
they
was
have to
just
wear
like, that's a
shoes.
weird part, and so they have to wear plain, sensible
Sensible
shoes.
shoes.
And I was like, oh, she's a lesbian. That's good. And but then they show like Erica disappeared, but showed up in her father's painting that he had just gotten the day that she disappeared, and like Erica was slowly growing old in the painting and changing positions.
I don't believe it. You saw her in the painting, Grandma?
Many times. But the peculiar thing was that little Erica kept on changing her position in the picture.
Until she just completely disappeared out of the painting. So it was like, oh, she died.
How
And
did
everybody
the
went,
witch,
this is some Black Mirror shit.
How did the witch tempt Helga? I mean, the girl in the painting?
She didn't. She grabbed her in an alleyway.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, right. She was bringing milk.
She was very sprightly for an old woman. She moved with great speed.
Oh, but she wasn't that old. Like,
Yeah.
She was pretty old.
Not as old as the Grand Witch.
yeah. Grand High Witch.
She didn't look strong enough to like overpower that girl.
Witchcraft.
Yeah.
Witchcraft. Yeah.
She didn't put much of a fight up though. She just kind of was like, I'm just gonna
she
go
was just
dead
like,
weight.
okay, cool.
Yeah.
Bye, y'all. I'm leaving this life.
And now it is definitely bedtime.
The grandmother's putting Luke to bed, and his parents are getting ready to go out for the night and then come in and say goodnight to him before they head out. And then they leave and get in their car. And there's so many like crazy angles when they're getting in their car. And I was like, oh, that's some terrible foreshadowing.
Yeah.
Like they transitioned to a handheld camera, and it was so shaky. And I'm like, why do they use this random thing? I guess they were trying to say something bad's about to happen.
Yeah, but I mean, also, I've noticed that. I've watched some old things that have like a handheld camera, and I'm sure it didn't look that bad before HD. But HD makes it look so much worse.
It had a very similar filmmaking to Matilda.
Yeah,
They did some like
you're right.
like when they go into like Matilda's space and then Untouchable space, it's very similar to that 90s.
Yeah,
Fresh. Sweet.
Yeah.
Oh, God. You're right.
It's very similar. It's very similar.
But then Luke is like, yeah, tell me more about the witches and stuff, while his grandmother's lighting little candles that are floating in a water base.
Bedtime candles.
His bedtime candles. I
What's
could see
happening?
how that would make sense. Like, it would give the child some peace of mind to have the lights on, and then
I don't think she gives a shit about peace of mind in the child with her bedtime story.
I know.
Right. Sweet dreams.
Sweet dream.
She's very adamant.
Yeah.
She is very adamant about telling him about witches.
Yeah, I
She
think.
just keeps on going.
But I think it's kind of like a stranger danger kind of thing.
Yeah, stranger danger.
Yeah, I agree.
But she does have PTSD about this. But that witches have very good sense of smell, and especially clean children smell like dog droppings, fresh dog droppings. And I was like, oh, Lord.
Interesting.
Note that she recommended that he take a shower only once a month.
Oh, yeah.
Great.
But I'm just
advice
like,
from your grandmother.
what is this? The Middle Ages? What's happening here?
Yeah, I was like, what time period is this supposed to take place in? Because
I'll never have a shower again now of you for an excuse.
Yeah, I just kind of put bedtime candles ? I was like,
she
what
was
is
saying
this?
that dirty boys, that they would smell the dirt, not the boy.
Yeah.
But if they were clean, they would smell the child, which smelled like.
Like dogs dropping.
But that's
It smelled like dog shit.
It was actually unclear what year it was to me. I wasn't really sure what era. I think that they were trying to kind of just avoid making it too much of one era.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, Luke's clothing was very 90s.
True, he had some really
Very
90s
80s.
pants.
Early 90s that had that ruched, like,
That acid wash.
the acid wash for one, but then he had those, like, it was stretch, like there was elastic at both his waist and on his ankle.
Oh,
And I was like, ew.
I agree with Candace. It was pretty nondescript.
It was nondescript. I mean, it was like what they did with Willy Wonka. I mean, they kind of
Right.
went as nondescript as possible.
Right.
The closest
Yeah.
they got
Almost
was
like alternate
saying,
reality kind of.
yeah,
thing.
the closest they got was saying that they lived in or they were visiting in Norway from America, and then they went to England. Like, it was like, okay. That whole conversation right before bed, and then she says goodnight to him, and then it's pretty quick that it's like, your parents are dead.
yeah.
It's
They're dead.
And
like
then the guy
police.
comes.
Yeah, the
But I
police
come in from
officer
it.
comes and brings the
I'm afraid I have
news and
some bad
brings
news.
the mom shawl. To,
Why did he take that shawl? What's going on there?
That's
it was really
evidence, sir.
strange. Yeah, it's like,
I'm kidding. It's not.
and so then the grandmother's like wrapped in the shawl, crying on the sofa, and I'm like, it's unclear if the mom or the dad is
Her child.
her child. I assume that
Actually, it was the dad. I remember specifically because
Did they say it?
when the dad walked into the scene before they left, he said, "Mom."
yeah, but I didn't know if that was in like oh, you're my wife's mother, I'm gonna call you mom.
They do that, yeah.
Because that was an older thing to do.
Oh, I see. That could be. I guess I just thought of it as a dad.
Because he has
mom
a
for
very
that reason.
American
I
accent.
don't think it's really relevant. To the story.
True, sorry.
No. I'm just saying I don't think they care.
No, clearly.
Yeah, because like there's a whole other grandparents that apparently we're not talking about. We're just
Yeah.
traveling the world with the kid.
But the parents are completely useless to the story. I mean, they were there for like seconds and then bye.
Just
Bye.
traveling with his incompetent grandmother.
Remember, it's a fairy tale. Where are all the parents? Poof, they're gone.
Right. Yeah, so after that,
We got a cigar smoking grandmother instead of fairy godmother.
yeah. So
Oh my God, the cigar thing, it was never addressed.
It was very strange. I mean, I guess maybe that was a thing with Nordic women in that time. I don't know.
They
It
want
doesn't
to
really
assert her
matter.
badass
Right, she's a
from the
tough
get-go.
woman.
From the get-go, not get-go. I always do that.
The gecko.
The get-go from the get-go.
Right from the
get-go.
get-go.
From Geico.com.
Podcast is not sponsored.
Right. So then they're packing to move to England, and I'm like, that's real quick. Did y'all have a funeral? What's,
It said
I guess
something
they're-
about his parents had him like signed up for school there.
in England? Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're right. And she had a house there.
A big house.
Yeah. It was like, okay, you got some money.
Yeah.
Luke is sitting there like playing with, I guess, his dad's radio. And I'm just like,
Up in
can
like a
you
tree
not?
fort.
Huh?
Up in a tree fort.
No.
Oh, we're not there yet.
No, when they're packing to
Oh,
move,
oh,
he's
yeah.
just sitting there like playing with his dad's radio and talking about sending off to boarding school. And then they quickly show that he's at boarding school, like meeting some kids, which I don't even know why they had to do that part. There was totally not
No, it wasn't.
relevant to the movie. But then he's like playing in a tree fort. This creepy ass woman comes by and I was like, hey, would you like some candy? And it's like,
whole bar of
okay.
chocolate.
And he's like, was it chocolate bar?
Yeah, it was
yeah,
chocolate
yeah.
First is the chocolate bar.
Would you like some chocolate? And he's like, maybe. And then she's, how
But she
does-
whips out a snake.
No,
well, but that's after.
Yeah.
But somehow he realizes that she's a witch.
because she looked up at him. And he
Oh,
saw
and
her
had the purple eyes.
Purple
That's
eyes,
right.
yes. And he's like, no.
Like he
It's
was
hard to
off.
see from far away, purple
Right?
eyes. But
I was like, how close was she to this tree
They were
house?
glowing.
I mean,
Oh, you don't want chocolate? How about a snake?
I know. And she says something along the lines of like,
Little boys
little boys love
love
snakes.
Boys love snakes.
And I was like, hell to the no.
Let me
I was
tell
like,
you something. As
if a lady
little
whips
boy
out a
one time
snake,
in my life,
firstly,
I did not want a snake. Ever.
whips out a snake, like tries to lure him with the snake and the chocolate, and then he's screaming for grandmother. And then she finally comes out and she's like, Luke. And I was like, she sounded like Aunt Beru.
but the witch decides to just leave the snake there. And she's like, you can come and get him later. I'm like,
No, but she takes him with.
later. No, she says she leaves
no,
the snake.
she leaves it there.
Because I remember the shot where you see the rubber snake.
Oh,
She magics it away later.
She does magic it away when the grandma comes out.
okay. I was like,
She leaves the snake.
I
snake's just
remember
gonna stay
her
there.
like
You know, he's not gonna
cackling
just
like
wither off.
crazy to this snake.
Look. I'll leave him here if you like. Then you can come down on your own again.
Hell no.
Yeah.
I'd be stuck in that fort for hours with
Yeah.
the snake
I
down
was
there.
like, you did not read my mind correctly.
Yeah.
It's the wrong choice.
Yeah.
I was surprised. I was hoping the boy would on the tree would be like, "I know your deal. You're a witch. Get out of here." I thought he would, say stuff.
Yeah, confront her.
Yeah, I think
Right.
he didn't want her to like do something to him if he was like, "You're a fucking witch."
Yeah, it's
Like-
probably better he didn't say that.
Yeah. I mean, he probably wouldn't have said the F word, but
Probably. Who knows?
who knows? Who knows what he learns
Who
in
knows
that
what
boarding
grandma's
school?
teaching him?
So then it cuts to a birthday celebration for him, and his grandmother gives him mice, and I'm like, that's
grandmas are great.
freaking weird. I guess he asked for that. Did he show some kind of
He was very
interest?
happy.
He was super happy about those mice. Why did he call him William and Mary? That's just a weird name for a couple of mice.
Do you think it was
Is
his
that
That
his
is
parents'
weird.
name?
Parents?
Was it his
I don't
parents?
know.
Maybe.
I don't know. Actually.
Maybe.
I was just thinking.
Maybe.
I mean, I did have pet mice at his age. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh.
My
Yeah, I
siblings
was
and I
just
all
like-
did.
What did you call it?
Okay.
Yours?
Mine was named Jeannie.
Genie?
Yeah.
Much more creative.
They were adorable.
Mary.
I like them.
Yeah. But and then the granny starts like passing out.
Mhm.
And I was like, how did Luke know who to call in England? Because then the doctor shows up and is like taking care of the grandmother in her room. But like,
Oh, I didn't think about that.
I was just like, he lives in a new country now.
Do they have 911 in England?
Oh, they do.
Okay.
They have
Oh,
999
999. I'm kidding.
from the IT crowd. Oh, 800 999.
8819971197253.
My brain.
Remember it well, kids.
Right.
Your info.
Yeah,
Even
so the
enough, you do remember it, so that's very
yeah, I was like,
successful.
I don't know how
It
you.
was successful.
I get about halfway through, and then I'm like, nope, don't remember
Is
anything.
this a real phone number?
No, it's a fake
joke.
number.
Oh, okay. I'm like, what?
It's a show called The IT Crowd. That was a British show that has the guy Moss and the guy from the Bridesmaids.
Okay,
that was in it.
yes.
Yeah.
The cool kids will know.
Okay, well, I was looking at Wikipedia to see if I could figure out if the parents' names were William and Mary, but they just call them Mr. and Mrs. and then his last name, which was
What was his even last name?
crap. I just had it.
Mr. and
was
Mrs. Luke's parents.
Evesham.
Yes, that's it. Dennis nailed it.
Evesham? Okay.
Mr. and Mrs. Evesham.
Evesham. Okay.
Cool.
So anyway, so the doctor's taking care of her and goes, she cannot have any more cake, like, and no sugar and something else.
Because she's got diabetes.
Yeah.
They actually say diabetes at one
The
point in the
kid
movie.
says
Movie.
diabetes.
Diabetes. So,
And my brain just was like, diabetes.
Wilford Brimley walks in and says,
diabetes.
you can't eat any sugar. And that smoking's not going to do you any good.
Right. Shut up, man from Cocoon. But yeah, so, and like that she needs a holiday, and they were like, oh, we already have a seaside vacation lined up. And then quickly they're like in the car.
Yep, they're there.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They're pulling up.
They're pulling up to the hotel with his mice. He's taking his fucking mice
Well,
with
he has
him.
to train them to be in the circus.
right, so pause here for a moment. So I'm one of the few people that never saw this as a child. Like when we watched it, that was the first time I ever seen it. But I have seen many clips from this movie. And all of the clips that I have ever seen were from like the ballroom scenes and all from the hotel scenes.
Mhm.
So basically, I thought I was
That was
curious.
the whole movie.
Well, it pretty much is.
I mean, it pretty much is.
because like right now we're about to get.
We're like
we're getting to
20 minutes into the
20 minutes
movie.
in. They get to the hotel. The rest of the movie is at this damn hotel.
Yep.
So I was wondering in my head, like before we watched it, how much of the movie takes place in that ballroom? And
Everything.
Everything
Everything
was in the hotel.
Yeah.
So anyway, moving forward.
So they arrive at the hotel, and Rowan Atkinson plays the hotel manager, which he actually has a fucking name.
He looks like his Mr. Bean character, but he sounds
But
like
with-
Blackadder,
Yeah, with the personality of Blackadder.
which is really interesting.
But Anyway, so I just call him hotel manager.
Ah, Miss Ernst. I am the owner of the hotel.
Anjelica Huston's character like rolls up right after that with her assistant.
And we just get a glimpse. It's like an ominous glimpse.
Kind of. We see like her eyes, and it's like very unmistakably Anjelica Huston
Right,
eyes.
yeah.
But that might just be because we all watched Addams Family, and it was just like eyes.
Yeah.
And she has her assistant that's played by Jane Herricks, who's in Ab Fab. For anybody
she's
who's
Bumble.
ever seen that.
That's that lady.
And she's also in Chicken Run. She's the
Yes.
stupid chicken. And
Yeah, she's the
one that's like,
chicken.
"I flashed before my eyes." Very boring.
It's very boring.
Sorry, not stupid. Simple.
I'm not sure that's
That's worse.
No, okay, so bubbly.
I'll go with bubbly.
Let's go with bubbly chicken. The bubbly chicken. As Kevin's drinking Coke, the bubbly chicken. Don't make him laugh.
Anyway, so the granny and Luke settle into their hotel room, and like the hotel manager's just like fawning over Anjelica Huston. Oh, Anjelica Huston greets a child in the lobby. Oh, in the lobby painting. So she's clearly put another child in that painting, like the other old witch did.
Seems to be a popular method to get rid of children.
And there's
I
a
guess.
slight sound effect that they do where she's like, "Oh," like
Yeah.
she's like a little thing.
Yeah,
that's
that the
very
little
faint.
child's like, oh.
Yeah, you have to pay attention.
Wow, I didn't hear that. That's terrifying.
It's making weird sounds. And like when Jane Herricks like pets his belly or something like that, he kind of goes, oh. And I'm like, oh, this is terrifying.
It's so Black Mirror.
Disturbing.
It's so disturbing. But then Luke goes to the cafe and meets this child
The most annoying
because
child.
he's fat. He's picking raisins off of, or whatever it is, currants off of the bun.
They made him a ghost of Gloopish, kind of.
I mean,
Yes.
clearly Roald Dahl has something against fat children.
Or people who are parents that let their kids be gluttonous.
Yeah,
I think it's more about the parents.
true. He does always blame it on the parents.
Right.
Jenkins. I like that kid.
Yes, Bruno Jenkins.
So
Bruno Jenkins.
So Kevin, Alexandra, and I, when we were watching the movie, we were constantly just going, "Ha ha, he's fat!" Like that's the joke, and we're
I
just
know the whole joke.
Every
That's
time.
so funny.
Every freaking time with that child.
because that's
He
all. His,
wasn't even fat.
no, he wasn't.
No.
But that's all his character was just I eat. I want to eat now, and then
Give me more food.
that's his only motivation.
Where are
all
the
movie.
sweets?
Yeah.
You promised me sweets. Give me the sweets.
So it's like
What
he's
three-dimensional
I know,
character writing?
He's
I know.
terrible. Other than like
Very
being
complex.
like, Mom doesn't like mice.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, that's at least some information. And apparently he knows all of their drinking habits.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Later
Well,
on.
that's traumatizing.
But doesn't he
can't
also mention that he's really rich? Like he just kind of drops that bombshell.
Yes.
He mentions
Like,
that his
I'm
dad's rich. Yeah, he does.
My dad's rich, but he's very tight.
Okay.
Come to think of it, I reckon I noticed his dad before I knew it was his dad.
I know his dad. I know his dad
And
from
his parents are
something
basically
else.
the Karens as a couple.
Oh yeah, they're totally
It's the male and female Karen.
They're totally
accurate.
Karens. Yeah. And his anyway, we'll get to it whenever we get to it. But oh god. Anyway.
If you want me to, I can play that.
So we have that he's met Bruno picking the sides of the cakes. And then the housekeeper, like this one housekeeper, I think they just call her maid the whole time. And I was like, well, it's not PC anymore. So the housekeeper complains to the manager, played by Rowan Atkinson, about mice running around.
He throws himself in his arms.
Well, yeah, because that's foreshadowing. She does. She is kind of like, there's mice. There's mice in here. And I'm like, okay, chill your titties, calm down titties. Ew.
Mr. Bean.
Oh God. So they are there's a remake that's supposed to come out next month in October.
What?
To what? This movie?
To this movie.
Oh my god.
Follow it.
Yes.
I'm going to be watching it.
I mean, I'm going to watch it because it has Octavia Spencer as the grandmother.
That's going to be fun.
That's going to be interesting. And then Stanley Tucci is the hotel manager.
Oh, I knew already.
Oh my God, yes.
How did you know
There we go.
that? And then Anne Hathaway is the High Witch.
What?
Interesting.
Yes.
That could be interesting.
It feels like her role in the last Ocean's movie, like, prepared her for this.
Yeah, it does. The Ocean's 8 role.
Who's the child? I think.
No, it's just I think it's an unknown child. I don't remember.
Genetic child number 4.
Yeah.
Right.
But anyways, where was I? Oh, and so the manager goes into the Granny and Luke's room and be like, you need to get these mice out of this hotel. Like, we can't have mice in the hotel. The other, like, people will freak out. And she's like, oh, really? And she basically is blackmailing.
She teaches him how to blackmail.
Yeah, she teaches Luke how to blackmail.
Good job.
And Luke even, like, jumps in really quickly. I mean, this kid, he's not the smartest one in the bunch, but he jumps in.
He's very
quickly
confident.
with, like, yeah, there's little nibblings around the buns, which is like, it's Bruno, but
Right.
he's like, it's mice or rats. Oh, his granny is like, yeah, there are rats. I saw one
Chris
crawl
Rock.
across the lobby. Oh, yeah.
Chris Rock is going to be in it.
Chris Rock is going to be in the remake.
What?
I don't know. I'm guessing is like Bruno's dad.
So it looks like the child is going to be African American.
Yeah, or maybe it's Luke's dad.
Yeah.
Must be Luke's dad.
Interesting. That's going to be good.
But yeah.
A whole new generation of people traumatized.
Right. Well, and they even reference it in the
It's directed
credits.
by Robert Zemeckis.
Who
my
did
God.
Back to the
That's gonna be-
Future
Oh.
and Welcome
Okay.
to Marwin. And
That movie. Okay.
But anyway, sorry. So the grandmother blackmails.
Yeah, and so he's like, okay,
Well, if
you
they are
can
kept in
keep
the
them in
cage,
your room, but
and
only
only
in
in
your
this
room,
room,
nowhere else in the hotel. And they're like, okay, fine.
Agreed.
And
Very well.
like instantly, Luke wants to take the mice with him
Oh, yeah.
down to the cafe.
Like
You
right
can't
after that
trust
conversation.
kids.
Right after that conversation, he's like, I'm going to go play with my mice in the hallway. And she's like, you do that, but just do not get caught. I'm like, after you just had this conversation with the
Right.
hotel manager.
Right. But anyway,
Yeah.
so then Luke and the grandmother go down to the cafe for tea, and the granny recognizes the High Witch. And the witch messes with the granny's food. Like, she makes things way too damn sweet. And then she changes the cucumbers to fish paste
Right.
and something else.
It was fish paste and
The tea was really sweet.
Wasn't something sour?
Maybe. I don't remember, but
Yeah, she's
just
got
basically messing with her food.
Wait, is that why she becomes sleepy?
Possibly.
Maybe.
Huh. I was wondering
Maybe.
why she was sleepy.
Just
Fascinating.
Oh, well, but it also could be just like the presence of a witch, like, drains her.
Or the diabetes.
Or the diabetes.
Could be either, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so then Luke takes the mice for a walk. Oh no, the witch sees Bruno with his shitty fucking parents. And the mom is played by the mom from Pride and Prejudice. And the dad, I've seen him from other things, but I could not off the top of my head say what he was from. I didn't catch it. He was in Outlander, apparently, as I'm scrolling here. Yeah, he's been in a lot of weird stuff. He's usually just a very loud Scottish guy in everything I've
He
seen
was
him.
very loud in this.
He was a
Yeah, he
very
played the
loud
role
Scottish guy.
strongly.
Yeah. And then Luke takes his mice for a walk, and the manager sees Luke and glares at him really creepily. I was like
He's decided he hates this.
he's just
Well,
like
he's not just taking them for a walk. He's like walking into like the kitchen and like
oh yeah,
the place
he's getting
he doesn't
really
belong in.
close. Yeah, especially
He's
with
bringing
mice.
into
Like
the kitchen.
yeah, Luke is training his mice in the meeting hall. After that, because the granny gets like really tired and like goes for a lie down, and he's like, I'm gonna go in the little meeting hall and train my mice.
Training them to do something mice already do.
Yeah, it was really strange.
That's not a trick. I was like,
mice
what the fuck
circus?
are you doing? Like,
Yeah.
mice do that. But
Yeah.
My circus seems like a very specific thing for a child to be into.
Though I did see
Candace,
like,
they need to get into the ballroom. It
Right.
needs to move the plot forward.
yeah, he needs to have
Okay.
the plot.
It's a MacGuffin, I'm kidding.
Yeah. But then the manager shows up and is showing the witches into the room.
As Luke is hiding.
And Luke is hiding with his mice, and the manager is like still talking while everybody's like rushing in there, getting into these seats.
Hyper excited.
Will be served on the terrace after
Fine.
concluded your meeting. The skies are clearing, I'm glad to say. So
yeah,
Hyper
witches are so
really
excited.
There's so much energy with these people. I'm gonna say people because half
yes.
of them are men.
Yes.
Oh my God, thank you. I was laughing so hard at that because I did not notice that as a child.
No. But you don't notice it until later on because the shots, when they pull back, the more and more they show shots.
Well, you notice
of
a
men.
few at the beginning, and then as they get into these closer shots, I'm like,
Well,
that's
I
a
noticed
man, that's
one,
a man, that's
and I
a
was
man,
like,
that's
oh,
a man, that's a
they did a trans witch. Interesting.
No.
And then I was like, okay. And then I was like, wait, never mind. They're not doing that.
No, it just looks like Monty Python characters,
Like,
like men
yeah.
in really bad drag. Yeah, that's what it looks
Yeah.
There's a little bit of scat.
I was like,
Yeah. At first I was excited. I'm like, cool, a trans woman here.
They were not that.
I know. I realized that later because the first one I was like, oh, and then I spotted more and more. Like, I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
these are just men.
Well, and who was it? Which one of you that was like, why are they doing this? And I was like, I think they just needed really ugly women. And that's all they could get
Yeah, I
was
was like-
ugly old man witches.
They wanted it to be as grotesque. That's
Yeah.
Witches of England.
This scene goes on forever.
It goes on for a long
Yeah, they
time.
really linger on this.
And they draw it out, and we'll get to it, but they kind of draw this out. And so they throw the manager out, and apparently one of the witches works, or actually I think two of the witches work at the hotel.
One of the
Yeah.
There's one in the kitchen and one in the like concierge.
Yes.
So she's like locking him out of the room, and then the meeting begins, and she's just like, everybody get comfortable. And so shoes come off, wigs come off,
I know.
face
It reminded
come
me of
off.
like taking off your bra immediately whenever you get home.
Yes.
Like they're
yes.
all like so excited to take off the wig. Like
Yeah.
it's very much that
Well,
kind of
and
feeling.
everybody was just like scratching like crazy on their heads. I was just like, oh. You know, you could get a wig cap or
I know, it's like,
something.
y'all got some bad wigs.
But then Anjelica Huston's character, the High Witch, like rips them to fucking shreds. She's just like, y'all are all terrible.
Your disgrace. Miserable witches. You're good for nothing worm.
In this terrible Germanic accent, whatever the fuck that was.
That German accent is awful.
And I don't know if
But
it's
then-
Anjelica Huston or somebody dubbing for her.
Well, so she goes full out. She rips off everything.
Yeah,
she
she
becomes
rips
this weird
the skin
creature.
off. Yeah, and
But
it's
her
like
voice
hunchbacked
changes
with this
so
long
drastically.
nose.
Not only the
Yes.
accent, but her voice goes high pitched to where it doesn't sound like her anymore.
Yeah.
It sounds like a totally
So
different
I actually
voice.
during the movie I had to look it up. I was like, did they get a different voice actor during that part because it sounds so different? But
Did
no, it's
they?
not.
Did
Oh, it's her?
No, it's her.
Oh, okay.
It's her.
Was it her in that outfit or was that someone else? Like
I think
dressed up as a
so.
goblin?
I
was
think
her.
so.
That was her.
Wow.
Because I think I watched something on this a while back that was just like, this is the most fun she's had making a movie in her entire career.
I can imagine.
Just because she gets to be as crazy as possible.
That makes sense.
Those fingers.
Bette Midler with Hocus Pocus. She's just
Yeah.
Those
Oh my
fingers
God.
long.
They were so long. They were like 3 times the size of a normal
You
finger.
could tell like she was having fun with those fingers.
And like pointing them at people's
I could
faces.
also tell that a lot of it was ad-libbed.
Oh yeah.
A lot of it was ad-libbed. They just let her go. They were just like, you go. Anjelica,
Go
you
on,
go.
Anjelica.
But then she's just like sitting there going, "We must eliminate all the children." I was like,
Oh,
was this like a Hitler?
bedtime.
Was this like a Hitler situation?
I got more of a Glengarry Glen Ross. Coffee's for closers sort of thing.
Oh
like,
yeah.
For killing children.
True.
Oh, jeez.
And then one witch like speaks out against her, and she's just like, "I will burn you alive," and then does it.
Oh, you could just see it. Oh shit.
Oh shit, things are about to get fucked up.
And everybody
I'm
was
gonna
excited,
say
like, ooh, shit.
Candace Candace was terrified of this scene and had to turn away. And I could not understand why it seemed so comical.
The tension.
So what was it? I was looking it up and I was like, who did some of the art department stuff? So like the cinematographer, Harry Harrison did V for Vendetta and GoldenEye and Red 2 and Wrath of the Titans and Aragorn and The Mummy and Mummy Return. I think that's hilarious. And 101 Dalmatians.
What a strange collection.
It's a really strange collection. Then there's the art department. The head of the art department was Norman Dorme. He did the Superman 1978 version. He did the visual effects for Flash Gordon.
What a trip.
He did Krull. He did The Shining.
Huh.
He did Rocky Horror Picture Show. He did that 1967 Casino Royale.
Oh, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it.
And then he did Chaplain, Gandhi, The French Lieutenant's Wife, or Woman, and Legend.
And Legend.
And Legend.
It all
You
ties
mean
together.
I Am Legend or just Legend?
No, Legend from the mid-'80s.
We talked about it in the last podcast. We mentioned it slightly. It's like it all ties back together
Yeah.
somehow.
Yeah.
You're at the Carrie's thing.
And then the assistant art director did Highlander 2, The Secret Garden, Star Wars Episode 1, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, Troy, Kick-Ass, Prometheus, The Borgias, Penny Dreadful, and Fantastic Beasts 2.
I think this movie was probably one of his earlier career.
Yeah, oh yeah. And then the key makeup artist did A Room with a View, Howard's End, and Remains of the Day, which I think are just like
So different.
Yes.
From you to the witches.
and then did Mask of Zorro, Chocolat, Pearl Harbor, and then like she does all of Matt Damon's makeup and all of Scarlett Johansson's makeup. I'm like, that's a random career, okay? It's just strange.
And that's the below the line notes for brought to you by Ali.
I mean, I'm like,
It is kind of fascinating because it is very eclectic, like Candace
well,
said.
but
It's
and
very
then like
interesting
things
choice
tie
of-
back to each other, and
Yeah.
it's also like things that I watched in my childhood that were kind of weird.
Yeah, they're all kind of weird.
That I'm like,
Especially this one.
so anyway, so yeah, she turns the woman to dust with beams from her eyes. And then I was like, this part is so early on in the movie. I did not realize. I thought it was much further on.
If she could do the thing with beams with her eyes, why didn't she just do that to more children?
That's what I was thinking. I was like, this
Like,
is
why go through like the whole thing of like making that elaborate potion and like?
I don't know. But yeah, so she gets into her plan and it's like, I have all this money so that you can buy sweet shops in England, lure children into eating these chocolate bars that have this potion, this Formula 86.
Formula 86!
Formula 86 a lot. And I was like, I don't care about the number. What does the number have to do with
you
it?
get the joke, right? 86.
Oh, yes, okay.
Actually, I
But-
did not get that joke. That's pretty.
I didn't
Oh
get
my
that
God,
joke until
86.
just now.
Good
Ah,
job.
nice. Thanks,
Nobody
Jake.
else got that?
No!
I knew
I did not get that.
I've worked in the restaurant industry. I know what that means.
I mean,
Oh.
I did too, but like, there were other
Good job.
It's
things.
just something you say between savers. It's like 86 the fries. We don't have any more fries. So 86.
Oh, okay.
86 the kids.
It looks funnier now. I did not put that together.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay,
and
where did she get all this money?
I don't know.
Where? Because she's just
a witch.
throwing it at them.
I mean,
She's
did
like,
she
"Here, have
steal
some
like
money."
Nazi gold or something? What's happened?
She said the
No.
magic to out of her.
She could be taking
Yeah,
the money
but,
of all her witch followers, and maybe they're paying
According
her a
to
big
bedknobs and
tax.
broomsticks, witches can't just
Like a
make
church.
money out of thin air,
I don't know. I feel like Grand High.
There's some money.
right?
Upstairs, I have a trunkload of this English money. So, you will be able to offer 3, maybe 4 times what these shops are worth.
Magic potioned 86 chocolate bars on these kids to turn them into a mouse.
With a very
With-
specific.
oh, there's
time.
very
It's very
timing on it.
inefficient. It's very inefficient.
It's after 2 hours and it takes 25 seconds for them to do it. I'm like, that is a very specific set of
That is a long,
instructions.
horrific transformation in front of her
So
parents.
what it was is that what was it, like one dose? It takes 2 hours, but if you do 5 doses, it takes like 20 minutes or no something.
It's
way
it
shorter.
breaks the
Way
time
shorter.
barrier and
Yeah.
it's instantaneous.
Oh, it's instantaneous. Thank you.
Instantaneous. Oh yeah,
That is-
which is why they give. Yeah. So anyway,
This is bizarre.
yeah.
It is.
Oh, and I just made this like comment. These
What is this, the
fingers.
Death Note? Like,
Yeah.
put it in your rules.
Yeah. And then she tells them the plan, and everybody just breaks out into this maniacal laughter.
Which is
They all had this intense maniacal laughter for everything. But Luke loses a mouse. Because of course he does.
Because of course.
Because it was a stupid plan to go running around this hotel with a damn mouse.
MacGuffin. Gotta get the plot moving.
Right. And then the High Witch is like, I've tempted Bruno, this child I met in the lobby with chocolate bar. And I said, if he comes at this specific time, was it like 6 hours later
No.
or something like that?
No, that's true.
Like
2
5?
hours.
It's 2 hours later.
later.
You get 6 bars of chocolate.
He'll get
But she
6
has it
bars.
down to the second.
Yeah.
He's gonna come out like,
Yeah, she's counting down the second. And
And she's really hoping he's going to show up. Like, what if he didn't?
yeah.
But I guess he loves eating.
he's fat.
Yeah. And she's like counting down and she's like, everybody put your faces back up, you know.
Yeah.
And so she has to like shove her face back into this weird mask of
Which
her
I
face.
actually love that effect. That was a
The
good
transformation
effect. When she
effect.
puts the mask on and then she puts her hands away and it's there.
Yeah.
It's editing, but
Yeah.
it's still really cool.
Yeah, that was really cool. I wanted to rewind it to see it again because like that was a nice touch they did.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then so he like knocks on the door and they have the one that works at the concierge like open the door for him and everybody's just like, oh God, I can smell you know, they're all just freaking out. At this point I just put half of them are men because it's really obvious right here. And then the High Witch presents Bruno and they count down to his transformation. And he's like sitting there being like, why are you all counting? Where's my chocolate bar? Give me my chocolate bar.
That lady promised me 6 whole bars of cream whipped hazelnut milk
Jesus,
chocolate.
let the chocolate bar go.
Yeah.
I know. I'm surprised he continued walking down with that weird vibe.
Right?
Like,
And everybody was laughing, kind of.
I know. I wouldn't have continued on walking down that aisle.
It was so
That's
crazy.
And he also laughs with them at one point.
Yeah, he
He's like,
does. He's on
Like, carefully.
stage. He's on stage, and he's like, give me my chocolate bars. It's just like, Jesus, let it go.
I would have walked in that room and been like, never mind.
And this is where I just put maximum disturbance because his transformation.
Oh my gosh.
I didn't watch that part. I put my head
fucking
under the
insane.
blanket. I didn't.
Oh no.
Just before the transformation, we wanted to comment on the fact that like when Anjelica Huston's character was smelling him, like he was right in front of her, she was doing some sort of undulating that seemed
She was
to send
trying
a
not to
different
puke.
message. Oh, that's what that looked. Because
No,
it looked different.
that's not what it was. But right before he turned into a mouse, she was getting so excited. It looked really sexual.
Oh, yes.
Oh god.
Oh, she was delighting in the sheet.
I mean,
Okay.
it's a little awkward to watch.
Everybody was.
That transformation was
Fair.
terrifying.
It was so terrifying. It was just all this like green smoke and
But then like
stuff.
oversized
and
ears.
like oversized
and
ears.
his
His
Eyes and shake.
and he's shaking
Oh,
convulsively.
Yeah, I didn't watch. It
Like-
seemed disturbing to me.
it was
Everybody
so
always quotes An American Werewolf in London as one of the most terrifying transformation scenes of all.
No, I'm
film.
saying this
I'm
is
saying
gonna
this one
run.
was scarier.
Yeah.
Sorry.
every time, every freaking time too. And then he changes into a mouse and he scampers off, and I just go, "That mouse has a lot of balls."
Yes.
I was like, Jesus, why did they get one with balls? And then the High Witch gives an order to come to the room to get money. Oh, to her room to get money in the formula after dinner.
Yes. Here's some more money.
After she like throws money up in the air and everybody's like, money.
Yeah.
It's like, what the
Here,
hell?
come get some more money in my room and the point.
I will give you each a bottle containing 500 doses. Also plenty of money.
Oh, and then somebody said, what happens if an adult eats the chocolate bars? And somebody says, or she says, too bad.
That's just too bad for the corner.
Yeah.
And then like walks off. It was just like, Jesus, okay.
Meeting adjourned.
The meeting is over.
Yeah, meeting adjourned until next
Until
year.
next
And
year.
then they all smell Luke.
Dog's dropping.
I was just like, how did you not
Smells like-
smell him before?
I know, right?
He's
I thought the
been
same
there
thing.
the whole time. It's not like he got cleaner in the amount of time that
Right.
he's been standing in there.
No, he's rolling around in the dust.
I
hidden.
smell.
I mean, if we're gonna say that, we might as well say, how did they not see him through that tiny grate?
Well, yes,
Also,
through the
yeah.
stupid grates. Well, and then somebody goes, I smell dog droppings, and she goes, search out that small lump of dung. I was like, what?
Stick 'em.
Sick him. And then Luke runs into the group because he's not that smart.
Oh, I know. He just goes right for
Through
them.
their legs.
Through their legs, just goes right for them. Not around.
Slowly crawling.
Not right into the crowd. Just-
And then he escapes into the cafe and then through onto the balcony and then down to the beach. And then the High Witch is about to, she looks like she's about to steal a baby, but then she just pushes the baby pram down the hill. And he's like, well, I can't let a baby go, get toppled out onto the rocks.
Yeah.
So I must stop the baby pram.
I just really like that segue. Like, they're just going outside to chase him down.
There's
Like,
all these
oh,
grown women just
a baby.
running down the hill like, boy! And it's like,
Oh, and that one older one that was like, ooh, a baby pram. And I was like,
can you imagine being a bystander and seeing that
Seeing
scene where this
all of them?
boy running after
Well-
a pram and all these middle-aged women running after
I don't want to.
That's
well, and
terrifying.
it went on for a lot longer than it should have. And I was just like, what the fuck is happening here?
It was a high-speed chase for children, basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was.
And then Luke gets surrounded and then he escapes to the beach again. I was like, just stay on the fucking beach.
Yeah.
But then he has to go back up to the hotel and into his room. Was it through the window?
Yeah.
I think it might have been something like that, maybe. He got in a different way.
He got in it not by the door.
I was expecting him to get through the window, but I don't think he does. I think he does something else.
Yeah,
Because they had a shot on the window, and I was expecting him to come through it, but then
he comes through somewhere else, and I was like, what?
what was the point of that shot?
Kind of this weird MacGuffin. And then so the granny is laying down, but she won't wake up because the High Witch is there keeping her sedated, and then captures him
and calls her an old adversary.
Yes, because she was clearly some witch that she had encountered. That's kind of where I was like, how do you know all the information about witches that you know?
So in the beginning of the movie, the little girl that gets put into the painting, was that her sister, or was she?
No, that was her friend.
No, it's just her friend.
It was just her friend.
Fascinating.
I think it was kind of implied that she might have been the reason she lost her pinky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
But it's just, I guess,
She said
was
she
it
was
like
hunting
leaving
her.
Yeah, was it leaving it open for like a sequel where we figure out how the granny? I don't know.
I do think it left open for a sequel, but more like an America sequel, which I guess is what they're making.
Maybe the something is a prequel, so they have room to go back and forward.
Maybe, I don't know.
I agree.
I didn't read this book, so I don't know where it goes in the book. But so then they force feed Luke the formula bars, and
I would
I
like to take a break here just to explain that it feels like all the time where the kid ran out of the room, the baby thing, the beach, and back to the room could have all been avoided if they just went from, they found him, and then they force fed him. It's in the same room.
Yeah.
Nothing changes. Yeah. Nothing would have been lost in the story if they had just thrown out that entire chase scene.
There was no point.
No, I mean, it was them trying to give an action scene. Like, it really was like the child equivalents to like a high-speed chase. Like, it was like that for children.
I guess it was to give more action so that it was more engaging for children. But I can see that. But it doesn't enhance the story.
I also don't like that false sense of safety where he's like, I'm in the room. And then Angelica's like, I'm here, bitch. Like, I was
right.
It's like he finally could breathe in that moment.
Yeah.
But
they made this book into an opera.
Lord. Okay.
What?
Side.
They made this book into an opera, apparently.
That sounds kind of amazing.
What do those words even mean? How is this an opera?
I was
singing and everything?
Yes, an opera.
I want to see lots of old witchy ladies singing in unison.
Wow.
That sounds kind of cool.
So I went on Wikipedia to see if they had any sequels to the book, like if he wrote a sequel or anything, and he didn't. But in adaptations, they made the movie, the 1990 movie, they made a radio drama, a BBC broadcast, an opera, and then the movie that's coming out in 2021.
Oh, Lord.
Bizarre.
It took Anjelica Huston 8 hours of makeup time to transform into the High Witch.
Oh, God.
Sounds about right.
It was a lot of process.
Sounds terrible. That's probably why they don't do it very often in the movie, to be fair. Anyway, so she force feeds him the chocolate, which is like 500 doses or something.
Or no, just a bottle. She just pours it.
Yeah, it wasn't even chocolate form.
It wasn't the chocolate. It was, she was just pouring it down his mouth.
Yeah.
And he starts having a massive seizure and turning into a mouse. And it's just as disturbing as Bruno.
Oh, yeah.
I also did not watch that.
He looks drunk and sweaty.
Yeah.
And then
I didn't want that in my brain.
He's a mouse. And he escapes into the grate, the air vent
stage.
Yeah.
So note that when Bruno changed, he was a real mouse. They used a real mouse. For this one,
they used a puppet mouse.
And it is so derpy looking. It is the derpiest mouse.
It is the derpiest.
It was cute.
Mouse.
I like
it was very cute.
He was super cute whenever he's in the air vent being like, I must find my way back and turn back into it. I was like, that's the cutest damn.
He's very chill about
mouse.
being a mouse.
Yeah, well, probably because he's just like, I love mice. It was always my dream.
I think I would have spent a few minutes just screaming. Probably.
I know, I would be like.
I know, you're right. They just adjusted very quickly. You're like, oh, I'm a mouse.
Yeah. Oh, and the witches are trying to step on him to kill him.
Yeah.
On the
So
way
good
to the air vent. And then he like instantly finds Bruno. I was like, Bruno did not go far.
He found food.
Oh, you found
And
food.
he found food. I was just like, Jesus Christ.
Get it? The joke is that he's fat.
I didn't want to say it because I don't want to be the one joke guy. But I also think it's funny that he also adapts quickly. Bruno,
Yes.
Because he's like, you're a mouse. And Bruno's like, no, I'm not. And then he looks at his hand and he's like, oh, I guess I am.
And I was like, what? How did you think you got into that
Don't be
vent?
stupid, I'm not just because you're that doesn't mean that I'm good lord.
That's your reaction? It's like, oh, I guess I'm a mouse now. That's my
It's like,
life.
you're a dumb ass child. And Luke is in the vent and he's like, I can talk. I can talk.
Yeah.
And like Bruno's like, they didn't give me my chocolate like they promised. I was like, God damn it. Stupid
Child, get over it.
And they both act so
It's basically Theodore. It's Theodore from the Chipmunks.
right.
He has one job.
Well, and
just to
they're
eat.
both, well, especially Bruno, he sounds high as fuck whenever he's like, I guess I am a mouse now.
Yeah.
And then at some point, somebody says diabetes. Like Luke
Diabetes.
says, he says diabetes. And I was like, no, that's not how it's pronounced. But okay. And then, Luke lures Bruno into his hotel room with like, my grandmother has peanuts.
Oh, yes.
And he's like,
Are they
really?
He said you got dry roast
I was
peanuts.
just like, Jesus, how many of these jokes?
Peanut doesn't seem that great of an option anyway.
I know. I was like, I mean, I guess for a mouse it is because it's like as big as their head. But
Yeah.
like,
That mouse would have gorged himself to death and died.
I mean, true.
I was really concerned that the grandma gave all those peanuts to him because I was like, he's gonna die, bitch. He can't eat all that.
Kenneth
It was
does not
really
think highly
disturbing
of the
to
grandma.
me.
She's just pouring him on the ground. She's like, eat up.
Eat up.
She was also very nonchalant about the fact that
She was.
That's very true.
Who are these mice? Oh, you're Luke and Bruno? Okay.
Okay.
I guess the only accurate reactions to the mouse thing was had by Bruno's parents. Those are the only ones who reacted
Yeah.
properly.
Yes.
Oh, but they're going up to the hotel room, like scampering between people's feet to go up there, almost get stepped
Nobody
on
sees it.
multiple times. Nobody sees it, and Bruno's complaining the whole fucking time.
Yes.
And he's like, oh, you mean I have to run? And I'm like,
Give me a suggestion.
I'm not good at physical activity.
yeah, yes. I was just like, stop.
I mean, in all fairness, that's what I would say too, but
Did they come out to the lobby? Oh, yeah, they come out to the lobby and see Bruno's parents, and his dad is the most obnoxious Scotsman I've
Right.
ever seen.
Like I said earlier, it's Karen, the male Karen.
Yeah. Oh, and they were following them, and there's a mouse trap that has cheese on it, and Luke literally has to say, Bruno, don't eat the cheese. It's just like, clearly he's already got it.
Don't eat it. No, he says it really funny. He's like, don't eat the cheese, Bruno.
Yeah.
Like, or you'll die.
You're gonna
They're very
regret
painful.
Right?
Yeah.
Your back will get snapped in half. Like,
There's just a
so
lot of traumatizing things
there's
happening
so many
that they're just
weird
being so
nonchalant
nonchalant
about.
about.
Come to think of it, if you're running a hotel, the idea of putting mouse traps and that being the way you got rid of mouse in front of your guests and everything, that seems...
Ideal.
Yeah.
You should probably do that in after hours. You don't want your guests seeing a mouse handler coming and setting traps.
that's very true.
Sorry, I'm having logistical criticism for Rowan Atkinson's character.
Yeah,
Well,
so-
I mean, it gets worse because the children see him kissing the housekeeper
Yes.
in that stupid housekeeper that was like, there's mice. And,
interesting side plot to just throw into the movie.
and then
It's
there's
like,
that witch housekeeper that's like kind of seeing all this, but being like, oh, God.
So quick side story, just since we're on that conversation, Nemo. In response to that, Allie and I used to work at the theater.
Oh, God.
And do you remember when they had construction under us and it pushed all these mice up into our theater?
Jesus Christ,
in our movie theater?
Yes, and there were all these traps
I was working,
set in the hallways behind.
Oh, God.
I was
my God.
I was working in one of the movie theaters and I saw a mouse at a woman's foot.
Oh my God.
And I couldn't
Did you
say
not
anything.
know?
No, she was watching the movie because it was in a movie theater. She was watching a movie and I just watched this little mouse just like hanging around her feet. I was like,
oh yeah.
What do I do?
Yeah.
What do I do?
You're just like, oh, he's about to do it.
He's going to nibble her ankles.
Yeah, and at some point, I opened up one of the doors to the back hallway behind the screen, and there were just a shitload of sticky traps back there. And I was just like,
and I remember closing one night, and I heard the squeaking.
Oh yeah, I heard the squeaking too.
I hate those sticky
Oh God! So yeah. It was awful.
It was
anyway,
so
side
terrible.
note.
That was
That's really good, funny. Thanks for sharing that.
At least we hid them in the theater. Like they were not in open plain view.
Yeah.
But like here, you're right. It was like right there in the hallway next to the doors of the rooms. So
Right.
Like, this is terrible.
It was not hidden at all. But yeah, and then one of the kids bites the shitty like witch maid or something like that. And then the witch housekeeper sees Granny.
Yes, Luke notices that she has the purple eyes. And yes, like, oh, she's a witch.
She's a witch. And then Granny's like, what did they do? And I was like, they turned him into a fucking mouse. What do you think they did? You're talking to two mice.
He's like, I'm a mouse. Like
yeah.
And then he says, I was turned in by the Grand Witch. She's like, I knew it.
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
I knew it. I could see it in her eyes.
And I was like, Jesus Christ, what the hell?
I mean, of course, logically, that's what happened.
Yeah. And then Bruno's like, he said you have peanuts. It's just like,
one track.
Stop it, damn it.
Shut up, Theodore.
Yeah. But then they there's this gala going on downstairs in the hotel lobby area, and it's for the RSPCC, which is like for cruelty to children. And you're all there. Like,
the title of the conference was just so funny.
Yeah. And even the High Witch was like, what's the RSPCC? And her assistant's like, cruelty to children.
What is this RSP?
Cruelty to children.
Oh, of course. You give money for the little...
And she's like, oh, yes. And
she can't say children. She vomits and child. Oh, no, she starts to read.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
In front of the guy who's trying to give a donation.
Yes.
Yeah. Like, oh, thank you for donating
Bruno's dad. Which is Bruno's dad. And he's like, such an amazing thing that you're doing. And she's like, thank you.
And
I thought that was a brilliant scene.
Maybe that's how they get all part. Maybe they throw these weird, like, cruelty to children galas and steal all the parents' money.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, against cruelty to children, but yeah. You just keep on saying cruelty to children.
Well, I mean,
was it the Republic?
Is something royal, something
royal protection of cruelty.
The Royal Society for Protection of Cruelty to
Prevention.
It was a long.
There you go.
Yeah, I was like
weird.
I was like, there's the RSPCA, and then there's like a couple of other things. It's always like Royal Society for the Protection of Animals. Is what
RSPCA. Yeah. Okay.
Oh.
Yeah. So.
Anyway.
That probably is where a lot of the money comes from. Now that you say that, I didn't think about that.
Yeah, I concur. Royal Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Children.
Yeah.
Just
side note though, I did catch a couple of things in the trivia when I was going through it. Cher was considered to be the High Witch.
That's so funny.
I mean, it makes sense.
Nemo, whenever he saw like a little clip before we started, he's like, "Hold on, is that Cher?" And I was like, "No, that's Anjelica Huston, so that's really funny.
Close, but no cigar.
I had difficulty telling the difference, but it seems so clear now that I see it. Cher's
Yeah.
taller and more slender-faced.
Well, I think that if Cher, she wouldn't have played it so maniacal.
No, she wouldn't have
played it
done.
much
She
more
wouldn't have done it
serious.
as she would have played it serious, and that was just not what this was about. And then in the book, the grandmother falls ill from pneumonia, not a mild case of diabetes.
Oh my God.
Which also makes me
harsher.
wonder why would the doctor suggest they go to the seaside for pneumonia?
Yeah, you're supposed to go to a dry climate.
Yeah. Maybe it does take place in the in the books. I don't know. But anyway, so yeah, they're talking to Bruno's parents, and the granny and Luke discuss a plan to take on the High Witch by lowering the kids, or one of the kids, down to the balcony, which was the Grand High Witch's balcony. How did they know that part?
Yeah.
How did
That's
why
a
did
good
the
point.
Grandmother agree to doing that?
underneath it? Well, yeah. And why did the grandmother do this? And the Grand Witch has a cat for some reason. Oh
You're
my
right.
God.
So
Liebchen?
Liebchen means my sweetie.
My
or
sweet, yeah. But the cat just sounds like a
Or my
fucking
love. It means my
cougar.
love. Yeah, it
The
does.
cat is just like, it was like,
No, cat! No, cat! No!
what is wrong with this cat?
The cat is pissed. I
Insane
don't know what they did to
in the membrane.
Luke had instant regret. Grandma, help!
And so the grandma has to use her knitting to like distract the cat while he's in. Puss, 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 puss.
Come here, pussy. I'm like, oh no.
Grandma is fishing for pussy. Yep.
That word was so innocent when I was a child.
I know. Well, what was it? Like, it just reminds me whenever somebody says puss, like, firstly, it sounds like puss. But but it always reminded me of Five Goes West when that crazy lady catches Cat Our Wall and is like holding him to her bosom, and she's like, pussy, pussy, pussy.
Pussy, 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 pussy.
And he's like, madam.
They could have just as easily said kitty. But
no, they
but
say pussy. Alrighty.
Because England.
Yeah, because England, and they want pussy jokes? I don't know. So then Luke breaks into the High Witch's room and sees her extra face mask. Because apparently she has two for some reason.
Have a backup.
Yeah, I guess.
Two is one, one
In
is
case
none.
One gets torn. And then the High Witch is like seducing Bruno's dad while his mom is watching on disapprovingly.
Was she seduced?
Yes, she was just like, yes.
Was he? I thought he was just hitting on her.
I mean, he was liking it back, but she was kind of just trying to like,
Instigating.
yeah.
I think now that y'all say that, I think that it's definitely where they get the money, because it also shows that she had some type of love potion in her room.
Oh yeah.
Yes,
and I didn't put that together.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
so she must have used that to make him give her money, like, so she could manipulate.
Yeah,
him to
some
donate.
kind of like pheromone thing. That's
Yeah.
manipulating him.
It's a witch thing.
Also, I don't remember in that scene seeing the kid like find a trunk full of money and then sending it to be mailed to grandma's place.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
well,
don't remember that either.
No, that's it at the end of the movie. But
Yeah.
I'll let you know when we get to that point. But he does crawl past that love potion bottle, sees her like extra face, and then he finds all of the vials in a book.
Right when he asks,
Right.
They've got to be around here somewhere. Here they are.
Yeah, here they are. Knock them off.
I'm like, this doesn't look like a lot of vials.
Yeah, and then the High Witch comes in looking for Liebchen and catches the granny distracting the cat, and what does the granny say? She was just like,
I'm so sorry. I dropped my knitting. I'm knitting something for my
She
grandson.
was
Oh, yeah, she
knitting
was so
something
sorry.
for her grandson.
her grandson. And I was like, what? But, why is it down?
She dropped her.
Oh, yeah, she dropped it out of her window. Why are you knitting so close to the damn window? I don't.
Yeah, she was
It's so
just
weird.
really annoyed. seeing her.
But then she like almost takes her face off, and then those witches come back to her room, and she's like, her assistant is like, well, you did tell them to come back here.
Oh yeah, she's like, who's that?
Yeah.
You told them to come here.
She's like, okay, fine, I'll put my face back on. And then Luke runs off with the bottle with his tail wrapped around the bottle. I
How
was
the
just
hell
like,
could
what?
he have the strength to pull that bottle?
I don't know. I was wondering that too. And then he left all the other bottles. So, like,
Yeah, he just pulls. Well, I mean, he can only hold one.
Yeah, that bottle
I
was
know,
the size of his
but-
body.
I know. It's so weird. And he brings it back to Granny. It was real quick for him to get back upstairs to his
Right.
Granny.
Yeah, so not only does he have the strength to pull it, but he can go at the speed of light.
Faster, apparently. And Bruno's still fucking eating. And it looks like he's eating a wax fruit.
Yes. Yes.
Is he eating wax fruit? Is he just so, just like on this fat joke that he's eating wax fruit?
No, it's because it was a puppet and they put it around like wax fruit because it was a bad prop.
I know.
It wasn't.
Apple.
It looked so bad. Like it was such a bad looking orange or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, he would have exploded and died already.
yeah, he would have like eaten himself
He's
to death.
gorging himself. And
Roll credits.
Who knows how many times, like how many peanuts?
And the fat kid blew up. Yeah.
They're saying we got to return Bruno to his family. And he's like, well, at this time, my parents
They'll
would
be
be
in
in
the
the bar having a sherry.
and a large malt whiskey and soda at 7 sharp.
I was like, okay, that's
Stimulates the
very,
appetite.
very specific. And the fact that you know their drinking habits is a little scary. And so they take him down to his parents, and Granny's just like, I need to talk to you about your son Bruno. And he's like, his dad's like, what's he up to? Raiding the kitchen. It's just like,
Here we go.
okay, this isn't helpful. And then the granny's trying to explain that Bruno is a mouse, and Bruno's parents are just like, what? You're a crazy old
The manager,
lady.
dear, tell them to throw the little
And then
nutcase
she
out of there. Tell
shows
him you need
Bruno
a
to
funny
his
flower,
parents,
you
and
do.
his mom flips shit because she hates mice. And just like they're screaming to have her thrown out of the hotel, and she's like, well, I'm not getting thrown out, so I'm gonna just like take y'all back somewhere.
And so Bruno is on the table, but he's too busy eating an olive.
Oh yeah, to be
speak.
able to speak.
Oh, that's why he wasn't
That's right.
talking.
It's like,
That's
say
right.
something. Nope, he's eating.
Yeah.
So I just want to take a moment just for the listeners, just understand that we are not fat shaming this child.
No,
we're
I'm
not doing that at all.
upset that they
We're-
keep
exactly.
fat
That's why
shaming
we're
this
joking about it,
child.
just so you know. We're not fat shaming this child.
Right.
We are joking about how
Ridiculous.
offensive it is
Yeah.
that they keep making the
'Cause
same
it's
joke at this poor
literally
child.
every time this child is on screen.
So I just want to make that point. Yes. But yes, he literally cannot talk because he's got food shoved in his mouth.
Yeah.
Because that's literally all he does.
And then we're also cut to the witches walking into their dinner, and her assistant is like, how do you know the granny? And she says she's an old adversary
Yeah.
at that point. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, that explained nothing
Right. It's never
to me. The housekeeper comes to the High Witch's room to turn down the bed, though that one that was, at some point I just call her the slutty housekeeper.
The
but
lady with the
that's
secret
rude.
affair.
That's rude. The woman who is having an affair with the hotel manager comes to the High Witch's room and turns down the bed, and she's like snooping around and rubs the formula on the back of her neck.
Not like right here.
Yeah,
on the
behind her
side.
ears.
Yeah,
behind her ears. Like perfume. And I was like, firstly, how does it smell good?
Right.
If
She
it
smelled
turns
it. It was like,
First of all, why are you
She's like-
touching people's stuff?
okay.
Two.
I was like, okay, this is invasive.
She's a Nazi.
You're not a very good housekeeper, but okay. And then we're back down at the dinner, and the High Witch is like, go back to the room to her assistant. And she's like, but this is all of our dinner. And she's like, not for you, it isn't.
Yes, because you're my crew.
You're my staff.
You're my
But it's
staff.
our banquet. You are not here to enjoy yourself. You are here as my staff. Go to your room. Now.
Not very good foreshadowing, but okay. And then the granny is about to slip the formula to the witches, and then she gets like interrupted by the chef, who's played by Jim Carter, who's Carson from Downton Abbey. And
yeah, it was him.
I was just like, oh, why are you in this movie? Totally blanked on that as a child.
I love this.
So her job was to get the kids in there.
Oh, okay.
So she did that.
She was trying,
But they did catch her and then kicked
kicked her out. So she got the kids in. Well, she got Luke into the kitchen.
Yeah, she like threw him
Bruce
in
was busy.
potatoes that were about to be turned into fries.
Yeah, and they get tumbled in a weird. I did not know there's just like a tumbling potato fry cutter. It was kind of weird and terrifying.
Yeah, I've never seen that before.
And then he narrowly escapes being fried with all the fries. And then there's a woman who works in the kitchen who's a witch who's making the soup, and Luke puts the formula in the soup. And then the witch like tastes the soup
in the nastiest way. Like licking
I agree. I said that
licking
too.
it back and front, and I was just like, Jesus, that's so nasty.
To do that, in a kitchen like that.
And by the way, like because of that lady and that pot of soup, we have a witch over a boiling pot. Like that's the only experience of that witch trope in this movie.
Yeah.
Well, and there's these little details that they did in the movie that I was trying to understand that never really gets explained. Like at one point, Rowan Atkinson, the manager, comes in. He's like, "No more salt on the soup," and then she just goes, "Haha," and then she just pours more and more salt. I'm like,
what was that?
Do witches like salty things?
Yeah.
Like, why did you like highlight that?
Yeah.
moment?
I was like, salt isn't expensive, so it's not like he's using a very.
But she's like being very like sneaky, like she's being very like almost
like vindictive.
Vindictively about it. She's like pouring the salt.
I guess Hocus Pocus is wrong about salt.
I know.
I guess.
But why did she put it in it?
Maybe we're supposed to just not like her. So whenever.
But then there was another moment. There was another moment where you see that maid that was putting on the thing. She has fur that.
That was right after this because
right after. Okay, no.
like we catch that the housekeeper and the manager like almost about to make out, and then she
make out. That's a sweet birthday.
What?
He's gonna kiss her neck.
Consummate their love in a closet. And she's got like mouse fur on the side of her neck. I was like, does that go away or is it gonna stay like that?
There?
Like, I don't know.
So it doesn't. It's weird. How does it work?
Questions.
That was really funny.
And he's like, ugh, and runs out of it. I was just like, not even like.
So if you accidentally pour it on your hand, does your hand turn into a mouse hand?
Yeah.
Okay. What's going on?
It's topical as well.
I just want a tail. Can I put it on my backbone? No.
Right.
I mean, you can carry things around. It's kind of useful.
But then Luke is down on the ground and like, I guess, does he try to start a commotion to get out of the situation?
No, he. First of all, did we
running across and then somebody goes at him with the cleaver and chops off part of his tail?
Yes, that was so disturbing.
Terrifying.
Okay, now we need to talk about that because it comes out of nowhere. It is not foreshadowed at all, and then
it's
all
Carson,
of a sudden
right?
it's and it's a big close up of the cleaver cutting part of the tail off. Part of the tail off in blood.
It came the fuck off.
And he just goes, "Ow!" I'm like,
not
no,
like,
no.
Ah!
Yeah, Like, ow.
Ow.
Maybe that was part of the spine.
Right?
That was ow.
It was terrifying. And then he like runs up Carson's pant leg. I'm just going to call him Carson from now on. Runs up Carson's pant leg. And he freaks the fuck out and is like, "There's a mouse on me!"
It's a mouse! It's running around in me!
And Rowan Atkinson pulls his pants off.
I know, they start undressing him.
Carson's pants off. And then
I would like
a big close-up of him
Grabbing
cupping his balls.
The mouse is already gone, but he's still going at his junk.
I should say that I laughed so hard at this scene because he couldn't take off his pants because he was whisking a bowl, something in a bowl, and then he couldn't actually mess with his pants until he passed the bowl to Rowan Atkinson, who then started whisking. I thought that's hilarious. They didn't want the
He's a
food
chef.
to not
That is a weird. Yeah, what the hell was
The show must
that?
keep go on.
Yeah, and then the soup cook starts turning into a mouse. And she's like, "Oh no," and like starts to run after the soup as it's like going out to everybody, and then turns into a mouse. And she's like, "No, don't eat the soup."
And that's when.
No, not just yet. And then Bruno's dad was being an ass to the waiter and was like, "I don't want this cockaliki soup.
Yeah.
I want
The
whatever
cress-
the
the
fuck
cress soup."
the cress soup."
It's when I don't want cockaliki. I don't like cockaliki. I like cress. So just take that back to the kitchen and tell the chef de cuisine that there's one more order for cress soup. Now there's a laddie.
He's being an ass and he's like, "I want the cress soup," and they're like, "No, it's for the witches, or it's for the other women in there, for their party."
Whoa, you don't give up the plot.
Yes. And he's like, "Well, but I don't want the damn cockaliki soup. I want the cress soup." And he's like, "Okay." And
What kind of soup was he eating before? I'm sorry. to bring it back.
cockaliki?
Kakaliki.
I don't know what that is.
Maybe it's a leek.
I think it's leek soup. I think it's leek soup.
Okay.
I think it's like a potato and leek soup.
Okay.
I don't know why they call it cockaliki. It's just, it's like, why did they call their pudding spotted dick? Like,
It rolls off the tongue.
it just, they have weird names for things that are very, yeah, anyway. So then the soup maker turns into the mouse and then tries to warn the other witches not to eat the soup. And the High Witch stomps on that mouse so hard it bursts out green underneath the. I was just like,
so nasty.
Jesus
That
Christ!
was such
It
a
was
shock.
the most
I was shocked.
brutal killing of anything I've ever seen.
It looked like she stomped on like a thing of green pudding.
Uh-huh. And it was like, okay. And then
We should remake that scene, except color grade the green to red, so it's blood.
Oh,
so it's as brutal as it actually is.
But Luke gets out and gets over to Granny. Or I keep calling her Granny in my notes. And
Not just that, like they do a 007, like an Ocean's 11 style plan where she spills something and then he hides in the tray
yeah,
for
that's
sweeping.
right. Yeah. Oh, but she's like, she picks up the like dustpan and she empties it into her purse and she's like, "I just love this red dustpan."
They must have planned ahead, and I'm like, that's really specific.
What the fuck is wrong with
She's
you?
like, "Yes, it's red." It's like, this woman is crazy.
He's just like, "I should have thrown her out when she came here with mice."
Smoking cigars in her room.
Smoking cigars. Yeah.
Oh, little do you know, manager, things are about to get
Yeah,
crazy.
little do you know. Oh my God. Anyway, we'll get into it when it comes up. But she sees that he has a bloody tail and he's like, "Oh yeah, my tail's been cut off with a cleaver." And she's like, "Okay." It was just like, there's no emotion that passes over either of them about the fact that, I mean, will he have something missing on him?
Good question.
I was just thinking the same. I didn't want to bring it up because we haven't reached there, but like, what does this mean? How does this translate?
Like, is that why she doesn't have a pinky? Did that happen? Anyway. I'm just thinking out loud there. Anyway, and then so Bruno's dad the witches are eating the soup, and then Bruno's dad almost eats the soup, but is stopped by Granny, and she's just like, "Here's your son!" And he's like, "Hey, Dad!" And they're like, "Ah!"
Bruno has been turned into...
He has not been turned into a...
Yes, I have. Hello, Dad.
So we forgot to mention it earlier, but it's not that important. Is that she already confronted them earlier?
Yeah, I said it.
Yeah, but the reaction is different. So originally they were just like, "Get this crazy
woman out of here!"
And
but then they hear Bruno's voice
Right,
come
time.
out of the mouse,
But-
and they're like, what?"
But all of a sudden now they accept it because voice. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Not like you had too much to drink or anything like that. Wouldn't be your first thought that,
Right.
oh, you can talk now.
Yeah. And he even asks like, who did this? And she's like, the Grand Witch. And I was like, oh, girl, hold back.
Would you like to
hold
know
back
who
the
did this
information?
to
Yeah.
Bruno?
And then the witches all start turning into mice right about this point. In like the most, are they spewing out green smoke out of their mouths? And Jake was like, "How is that done?" And he's like, "It's just little trees."
Yeah.
But yeah. So like everybody starts turning into mice. There's like a massive like commotion going on. Granny confronts the High Witch, and then Bruno bites her. And she begins to turn into a rat. She's not a mouse. She's a rat. A hairless one at that.
Yeah,
it's the most disgusting thing I've ever seen. And
Bruno bites her? Why?
yes, because she's like going after Granny, and I think he's like trying to like stun her or something. And like even the High Witch like threatens Granny, and then the manager just starts attacking all these mice with a cleaver.
Yeah.
It's just like, Jesus Christ, that amped up. And smashing them. Like they're all getting smashed by these people in the hotel.
That would disturb me so much.
And then Granny traps the High Witch mouse under like a canister or something like that. And she goes up to the manager and is like, "I just saw the most gnarly mouse over there," and tells the manager to go kill it with a knife. And he does.
Yeah, that was disturbing. I
was just like,
Yeah, it was pretty violent. I mean, they didn't show it, but
I mean,
Point of view.
it's
Angle. And green guts.
Oh, and he comes back up with the knife, and it's got green guts
That's
on
right.
the knife.
Yeah, I mean, I agree
Yeah,
with
that's right.
whoever said, like, if it was red, it'd be a lot worse. Like, I think that's why they made it green, because it's a kid's
Green.
movie.
Yeah,
They
I
can
could
get away
see
with
that.
it if it's green.
Yeah.
that's a good point. Yeah.
It didn't have to be an R rating.
Yeah.
It could
Yeah,
just
because if it was red, I think that parents would be upset their kids were watching that.
What is this rating on this
What movie
movie?
did they do that in to avoid R rating, where they changed the color of the blood?
It's a PG,
PG?
rating. I don't know.
It's PG.
It's PG.
It's a kids movie.
It's a kids
So yeah, but PG. Are you kidding
Which,
me?
by the way, Roald Dahl wanted his name taken off of this because he thought it was too vulgar.
Really?
Put out there, and Jim Henson was like, "No, you got to leave your name on this." Like convinced him to leave his name on this, and he's like, "I hate this movie, but okay." But he hated like all adaptations of his movies prior to like his death.
Well, that makes sense. He had them, like really specifically imagined in his brain.
Yeah.
The German title is Hexen Hexen, which literally means witches practice witchcraft. Hexen Hexen.
Hexen.
I love that.
Anyway, so so then the granny returns Bruno to his parents and says he needs to go on a diet.
We missed an important scene.
Oh Lord, what?
Yeah, what the fuck, Granny? You're the one that gave him that big bag of peanuts.
Right, she keeps feeding him. We forget the throwaway scene of the assistant eating in her room.
Oh, yes.
With the weird audio.
Yes.
Of her being like, well, I never wanted to be one of them anyway.
Oh,
Just, like,
yeah.
eating a salad.
Well, yeah, while they're all eating the soup, it cuts over to the High Witch's assistant in their room, like, eating a salad, being like...
Didn't want to be one of them anyway.
But, like, it's all dubbed over her face. She's not
like her lips
actually moving.
I don't remember her saying that for some reason.
She does. Like,
yeah.
I didn't catch it to put it in my notes, but I remembered it happening, and I was like, that was weird.
I remember
It's not
her
gonna
seeing
come
her
back
eating,
to
but I don't remember her saying anything. I just remember it looking like she ordered a ton of like sad room service or something.
We'll explain in a bit why that is, why they added that, because there's a reason,
but
we'll get to it.
Yeah, so she returns Bruno, says Bruno needs to go on a diet. Luke and Bruno say goodbye to each other. And then Luke changes a tag on the High Witch's bag to his address, like their address.
Oh, really?
At that point.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I was like, I thought he was having it sent to like an orphanage. I thought that's what
I
they
thought
said.
it said, like orphanage.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's what I
It's a
thought.
charity.
No, I remember that too. Yeah, he did. It was sent to the...
What the hell?
I don't know.
Okay, anyway,
Just
so
changed
we'll get to,
Bad editing?
Yeah, it was sent to, he has it sent to an orphanage, but it actually goes to their house, and we'll get to it. But it's just like, Luke has it sent to his house, and then it also has the book of all the witches in America in it. Why specifically America? I don't know.
That must be what the next movie is.
Yeah, I was like, it's totally open-ended to like go find whatever witch did this thing to Granny. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or, oh no, they wanted to go find somebody who could turn him back into a boy.
Right.
They were like, maybe we'll find a good witch in America who can turn me back into a boy. And then he's using his like mouse circus thing that he built in his house to sleep in the same room with his grandma. I don't know. It wasn't built before. Did he like instruct Granny to build the...
Maybe.
Because he had drawn up plans. But
they spend so let's go ahead and get to it now.
Yeah.
So that scene earlier with the assistant, like clearly they added that later on, because from the trivia they said that Roald Dahl was not happy with. No, they gave him the choice between the original ending of the book where he stays a mouse and changing it to where in the version of the movie where he gets turned back into a boy, and Roald Dahl preferred his original book ending where he stays a boy. So they clearly spend all this time in that scene being like, I'm okay with being a mouse. Like he says it. They go through this whole thing.
I really am happy to be a mouse, you know. I know, my darling.
I know it's okay. Like he's pretty much made up his mind that he's happy to be a mouse. And then they just shoehorn this girl back in, and she's like, never mind, phew, and then it's boy again.
Yeah.
And then credits.
Oh, they created that whole character specifically for this movie.
That's
and I wonder if they had to do reshoots and add her in.
That's what I feel like,
because she never really shows up like in the big scenes with all the other witches.
Right, she doesn't serve a purpose.
It's so strange.
I think you're right. I think they reshot and they added that scene so they could have the happy ending.
She's wearing all white and her hair is improved.
Yeah.
She's good now.
She's a good witch. Oh my God, she was maniacally laughing at the end of that. She was just like, and then Luke is like, don't forget Bruno.
I know, wasn't that an asshole thing? Like he wasn't like, thank you. Like he was like, go do more work. Like what the fuck?
I mean, yeah.
I fully agree.
He wanted to save his friend, but
he didn't say thank you.
All,
yeah.
He wasn't.
I fully agree with y'all and Jake. Yeah, like it really does feel like they just like, let's just put this in, and it doesn't attach because she's like doing magic in some random parking lot. which we're supposed to assume is in front of the house, but
Right?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Either that or she's parked her car on a moor.
It's not even on the same set.
Yeah, no,
exactly. And
it's
she's just
not.
magicking things to and fro. I guess they did say you can magic things away, like the lady with the snake.
But they see her. They're like waving at her.
Yeah, they wave at her. But it's just like, you just hear honk honk. They look outside, she goes, poof, and then she turns into a boy. Okay.
Yep.
So
and they don't even show what he's missing to compensate for the tail, you know?
Right?
I know.
I know.
What kind of message is this? What kind of moral is this? Like, at least when you had him as he was turned into a mouse and he accepted his fate, like I could have given this nice message of, you know, things can be shitty, like things can happen to you, but you can just look
Make
on the
the
bright
best
side
of
of
them,
life
yeah.
and just move on and be happy. And they did that. But then never mind, you're a child now.
Also, we have a lot of money now instead of like an orphanage or anything.
Because even though I'm pretty sure they were already like rich. I mean, looking at that huge.
Very true.
Oh, remember, and
Seems like
she
they
also
already had
magics him back his glasses.
Yes.
She's just like, here, throw, boom, boom. They're
Yes.
on
And
my
his
face. I
mice,
was like,
his
what?
pet mice too.
Oh, yeah.
I hate it. I hate it.
Thanks,
I hate it so
it.
much.
I hate that ending. I think they should have left it
I
the
did
way it
at the end of my notes. I just go, what the fuck?
was.
Question mark?
Thanks. I hate it.
Thanks, I hate it.
What is this ending? I mean,
Magic's good.
honestly, I would have liked it more if they just left him a mouse and like left it open for a sequel to be like, okay, let's go find another witch who can maybe turn me into,
Yeah, right?
and like hijinks ensue. Like,
Yeah.
but no, let's tie this all up with a big,
less than
nice
2
little
minutes.
bow. Yeah, it was
Less than 2 minutes that shot.
yeah,
Roll
so
And
strange, so strange.
So thoughts.
That's the most
Luke-
random piece of trivia.
Luke learns that mice can probably live only another 9 years and decides that in the end, himself and Grandma will die together.
Oh my god!
Mice do not live 9 years. Mice live like 2.
I don't know, man. It's so strange. I mean, to
Where are
be
you
fair,
reading this
they use
trivia?
on IMDb.
Wow.
They always
Okay.
have this trivia section, which is really fun to read sometimes. But
Yeah.
Alright.
Is Miss Irving's redemption.
Sure.
Okay. Sure, Jan.
Redemption for what? She did nothing the
I
whole
know.
movie.
She
had no time
just
to
was
redeem.
like being a weird standby the whole time.
So yeah, one of the most interesting things about this movie is that it spent so long on certain things and so short on others.
Yeah.
Like that whole scene with the ballroom with the witches, it took so long, and she
Yeah.
just goes on and on with her speeches.
Yeah.
But then like that ending and other moments that are crucial to the plot, they're just like, aha, and it's done. I was like, what? This movie has weird pacing issues with its writing.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I'm just kind of wondering what the 2021's gonna do. Are they gonna keep it the original?
Pretty similar, or are they gonna?
Or they, because
We need
they
to follow.
mention they're inspired by this movie, and like the screenwriter gets like a mention in the credits
So they are going
to the new one.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, okay. Which, by the way, the screenwriter has absolutely no credits.
Oh, really?
Like he has some, but it's mostly like that he worked with the director on other things, like 2 or 3 other things. Which, strangely, the director also did the David Bowie movie, The Man Who Fell to Earth.
Oh, interesting.
And he was the cinematographer on A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum and Casino Royale 1967.
We're not talking about that.
Okay,
And
now
more.
I'm super curious about why Kevin reacts so strongly to that movie.
Okay, so the 1967 Casino Royale, which has nothing to do with this movie other than the fact that a lot of these people were involved with that movie, I found out.
Uh-huh.
There were 5 directors on that movie, which
Whoa.
meant there were 5 different Bonds. And one was played by Woody Allen.
Yeah.
And one of the other ones was played by Peter Sellers. And Le Chiffre was played by Orson Welles.
Hold on. Is this a Bond movie we're talking about?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Is it even canon? Because
No, it's not technical. Well, okay, so it was supposed to be based on the book Casino Royale. And then because they kept hiring and firing so many directors, it has a lot of things happening, and they decided to tie it all in together by having all of the Bonds have a scene together at the end of the movie. And one of them turns out to be a villain.
It was not like a multiple dimensions, like a Enter the Spider-Verse for Bond.
No.
Nope. It seemed like an experimental film.
It was like an experimental film because at some point Le Chiffre is like torturing Peter Sellers' Bond, and it just goes fucking 60s.
There's like weird visual effects. It actually really disturbed me.
Kevin hated that part.
Hated it. Like, I'm not disturbed by things that should disturb most people, but that disturbed me.
It looks like a really bad acid trip.
It was. I was like, I don't like it.
All right, let's add it to the movies to watch later.
I mean, we didn't watch it as children.
So this movie didn't do very well at the box office. I mean,
Gee, go fucking figure.
Well, I know, but it's interesting because the company that made this movie, was it? Oh, Lorimar Film Entertainment. They closed during the production of this movie. So this is their last movie before they shut down. So this movie was on the shelf for a while. They couldn't release it.
But wasn't it picked up by Warner Brothers?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
But for a while, it was on the shelf because they didn't have the money to release it.
Oh no.
They couldn't distribute it, so it was on the shelf for a while.
Oh no.
So
wow.
So they released it I think they released it in August, which is a terrible time for a movie like this to be released.
Yeah.
So that's why it did so badly, is that they released it at a very bad time.
Why wouldn't they put it?
Because they do that. They always make stupid mistakes.
Well, especially Warner Brothers. I don't know how there is still a studio, to be fair.
Sometimes when they know that a movie's not going to do as well as they hope, they just kind of go, whatever, just
throw it out there.
Just throw it out there.
Yeah.
FYI, Kakaliki soup is a soup made up of chicken and leeks. Therefore, the cock and the leek.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. That makes
It
sense.
is Scottish.
Little cock and leek.
Yeah.
Every time I hear it, I think of Wayne's World. Oh, kakaliki.
I do too.
I'm just like, kakaliki. You know, you want to Never mind, sorry.
Sidebar. Anyway,
How we always end up back to Wayne's
So how did we all feel at the end of this movie?
Well,
anybody?
It was a very silly ending. I didn't like that, but I thought the pacing of this movie was nice. I enjoyed watching Rowan Atkinson. That conference room scene is the best conference room scene in movies, I think, because it sticks with you, and like,
oh my God,
having all of those witches do all that is it's fantastic. Anjelica Huston? Houston. I really liked her character
Dang
performance.
You lived in this city and you can't even remember.
Anjelica Huston?
Anjelica Huston.
Anjelica Huston's performance was great.
Which, by the way, she is the daughter of John Huston, who made Chinatown.
What?
Yeah.
Like, I literally covered my mouth at certain times during the movie. Like, I looked over at Kevin, like Alexandra and Kevin, and be like, "What in the hell?" Like,
yeah, he was like, "Oh my god!"
I know you really loved when she stopped on that.
Which is funny because
I already knew that was coming.
We've watched things get their heads blown off.
I
And
know.
you seem totally unfazed by it, but a child as a mouse getting his tail chopped off
because it was just so like out of the blue. Like, there's just so much like
happening.
Well, because everybody's being so nonchalant all the time about everything, but then all of a sudden, wham! And then like tail cut off. I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah.
And then they don't really address
And
it.
then the transformations.
Oh my
why?
God.
Why are the transformations so
Graphic.
grotesque looking? I mean, It was
as a
disturbing.
child's movie.
I
As a
can't even
child's
imagine.
movie. So, yeah, I'm just like
Shakes.
sitting there going, these cinematographers and art department people really wanted to show their craft with this. Because I was just like,
it was all practical effects. There was very, 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 well, that's Jim Henson too.
Yeah.
But there's very little actual special effect. It was all practical.
Yeah, it was all
Which practical effects
there
are
were a
disturbing
few
to
where
look
they
at.
had that like overlay of the smoke or whatever, but like most
You understand
of
the
it,
difference between practical and special effect, right?
yeah, he does.
Okay. Just making sure. Just for the
He's like,
No, I know. I'm just making sure that,
It's like he's
just to make sure
studying film.
that everybody knows what we're talking about right here.
I could not ignore, like every time I wanted to point and say, they just played Smoke in reverse whenever I saw the smoke return into the.
Yes.
I felt a bit like
Many times.
but yeah,
I thought it was fun.
it was a thing. It's still very disturbing to watch
is.
as an adult, and I'm just like, I don't know that I would ever show this to anybody under the age of 13.
Oh, I totally would.
I would absolutely
Would you?
not.
You would show this to a child?
Yeah. I
Candace,
mean,
we can't. It has so much logic. Like a kid could actually think this is real. Like it can stick with them. All the rules. Like
Are you saying this more as like this is a stranger danger like lesson for a child to learn?
I think it's important to like be aware of what lessons you're teaching when a child is watching something, because they're they're sponges and they're children and they're very impressionable. But something I do like about Dahl's work is that he always teaches kids to be really independent and to do what they want. And I don't think that's something that is in a lot of films for kids, so I like that a lot.
Well, yeah, he does focus a lot on the kids and like all to the adults.
And I like that there's all this action and violence, but not like in a gore kind of way. So I do think it's a good way of like kind of introducing kids to violence, because they are going to be seeing violent movies at an older age. And I think that it makes sense to kind of ease them into it. And I think that although this does have kind of disturbing scenes,
I was like, is this
it's a certain kind of disturbing that's a little sugar-coated, that's appropriate.
It's some stomping and tail cutting.
I think it's important to note that this is the second movie done in this podcast that is by Roald Dahl.
Yeah.
Because you guys did Willy Wonka.
Yeah.
Now you've done this. And then I'm thinking...
We'll probably have Matilda on there at some point.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So I'm thinking about Matilda. Like in Matilda, there are some little things that are kind of disturbing, but overall, like I think as a child, I was fine
It's
with
more of like, oh, this is significant to me in the fact that they were raising up this child, or
Right.
whatever. But like these other two,
But in
holy
contrast,
shit,
the
balls.
witch and then the witches and Willy Wonka had some scenes that were just nuts.
Yeah.
So interesting. I think it's interesting, the conversation to have about Roald Dahl adapted movies.
Yeah. Well, and he was even involved with Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. He rewrote the screenplay for Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Yeah, I mean, I also like the imagination of his stories, because a lot of the stories that kids watch today are just like rewritten old stories that have existed for a really long time, and I don't think that really encourages creativity in children.
Yeah.
And I think that his stories are really interesting and creative, and I like that it helps children be more imaginative whenever they watch these types of stories.
And it probably also helps. It probably also helps that he's not specifically Anglo-centric or whatever. Like he's from a Germanic country, and so therefore he has some of those elements like fall into it, and he knows how to incorporate it in a way that like is interesting.
Right.
And like Candace said, encourages that creativity, and like everything doesn't have to be Beauty and the Beast and Cinderella and Rapunzel.
Yeah.
Like, Jesus Christ, can we stop remaking those?
I know, and it's kind of interesting to me how like in his stories, like children are always, like I said, very independent and very vocal. And the one kid in this story that was not vocal, that I don't even remember her saying anything, was Erica, and she's the one that died.
Oh, yeah.
So it encourages you to be vocal and speak up for yourself and to take control of your life in a way that children aren't often encouraged to do.
Yeah. Well, and he also is giving children a good like childhood role model for even boys. Like, because a lot of Disney movies are very female centric. I feel like a lot of children's movies are female centric to a certain extent. There's not too many like boy child characters that I can think of.
I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. Like female centric, like do you mean like they focus too much on femininity and like princess?
No, on little girls. Like
just too many like protagonists that are girls?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of a Page Master.
Oh, that movie.
I mean, I like that movie and it is on my list, but
The Never-Ending Story?
No, I don't know if I agree. About like a lot of, I mean, yeah, because I mean I can think of some right now. I don't
like what?
Like, I mean, The Lion King, that was like super masculine. Like there was like a female in there, but like honestly Nala didn't matter. Like it was all about him being a king and his relationship with his fathers. Like,
oh, I mean that was because it was Hamlet as lions.
Story retold.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I didn't realize that Fantastic Mr. Fox was also.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
He writes unique stories.
Yeah.
James and the Giant Peach.
Yep. Oh yeah, James and the Giant Peach is one.
I love that one.
Oh, those fucking ants scared the shit out of me as children.
Well, it's Henry Selick, so it's a lot of the same imagery, like Coraline.
Yeah. Those ants were fucking creepy. Speaking of Miriam Margolyes.
It's been a long time. I've only seen it one time. It's time to watch it.
It's been a while, yeah. All right. So we like the film.
Yeah.
We think it's good for children to learn some of these lessons and get, I guess, exposed to the violence of the world.
I mean, I don't want to sound like I'm a creep or anything, but I'm just saying, like...
I would basically tell a child, none of this is real, none of this is real, none of this is real. All right,
I don't know, because like when I think about things when I was a kid, my favorite movies were the scarier ones, the ones that scared me, like Hansel and Gretel and Large Marge and Pee-wee's. Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Yes, the truck driver that was like, tell him Large Marge sent ya.
All my favorite parts were like kind of scary.
I just saw that movie for the first time this year. Alexandra
One of the best movies in the world.
It was bizarre.
I love it.
Though that is a bizarre movie that we probably need to put on our list because I did watch that as a child.
That's what my mother.
That whole movie.
My mother reacted the same when I told her. I was like, I just watched.
Why is it Large Marge that pulls everybody in?
But I told my mother, I was like, hey, we just watched Pee-wee. She's like, oh my God, Large Marge. I was like, what?
Me and my mom and your mom clearly are Large Marge, and then my mom also goes, there's no basement in the Alamo. And I was like, why is that the part that sticks in your head?
Because it's funny.
I mean, it is funny. Thanks everybody for joining us on this fucking trip of the podcast on the witches. We'll be back soon with a new episode. But until then, like, subscribe, follow us on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts now, and Spotify. See you next time.